2nd of August, 1899, Volume 2, Correspondence to Jesus. This morning my adorable Jesus made himself seen, all afflicted and almost angry with men, threatening to send the usual chastisements and to make people die suddenly under lightnings, hail, and fire. I prayed him very much to placate himself, and Jesus told me, "The iniquities that rise from the earth to heaven are so many that if prayer and souls who are victims before me were missing for a quarter of an hour, I would make fire come out of the earth and inundate the people." Then he added, "See how many graces I was supposed to pour over the creatures, but since I find no correspondence, I am forced to hold them back within myself. Even more, they make me change them into chastisement. Be careful, you, my daughter, to correspond to me in the so many graces I am pouring into you, because correspondence is the open door to let me enter into the heart and form my residence in it. Correspondence is like that good welcome, that esteem, which is used with people when they come to visit us, in such a way that, drawn by that respect, by those affable manners used with them, they are forced to come again and reach the point of not being able to detach themselves. Everything is in corresponding to me, and according to how souls correspond to me and treat me on earth, so will I behave with them in heaven. Making them find the doors open, I will invite the whole celestial court to welcome them, and I will place them on the most sublime throne. But it will be all the opposite for those who do not correspond to me." End of the reading.
The 2nd of August, 1902, Volume 4. During the whole course of his life, Jesus redid everything, for all in general and for each one individually. This morning, after letting me struggle very much, all of a sudden, my adorable Jesus came, spreading rays of light. I was invested by that light, and I don't know how. I found myself inside of Jesus Christ. Who can say how many things I comprehended inside that most holy humanity? I can only say that his divinity directed his humanity in everything. And since in one single instant, the divinity can do as many acts as each of us can do in the whole period of one's life, and as many acts as one wants to do, I comprehended with clarity that because the divinity operated in the humanity of Jesus Christ, during the whole course of his life, blessed Jesus redid for all in general and for each one individually everything that each one is obliged to do toward God in such a way that he adored God for each one in particular. He thanked, repaired, glorified for each one. He praised, suffered, prayed for each one. And I comprehended that everything that each one must do has already been done before in the heart of Jesus Christ. End of the reading. The 2nd of August, 1909, Volume 9, The Soul, a Toy Made of Gold and Diamonds. I was thinking of what I wrote on the 27th of last month, and I said to myself, I thought I was something in the hands of the Lord, yet I am nothing but a toy. What a most wretched object I am. Toys can be made of clay, of earth, of paper, of a flabby elastic band, such that it is sufficient that they fall to the ground, or just the slightest inconvenience for them to break, and no longer being useful for the game, they are thrown away. Oh my good, how oppressed I feel at the thought that one day or another you may throw me away. And good Jesus made himself heard and told me, My daughter, do not oppress yourself. When toys are made of wretched matter and they break, one throws them away. But if they were made of gold or of diamonds or of any other precious metal, one has them fixed, and they always serve to form the amusement of the one who has the good of possessing them. So you are for me, a toy made of diamonds and of purest gold, because you have my image in you, and because I paid the price of my blood to purchase you, and you are adorned with the likeness of my sufferings. Therefore you are not a wretched object that I could throw away. Rather, it cost me very much. You can be tranquil. There is no danger I may throw you away. End of the reading. The 2nd of August, 1922, Volume 14. Likeness to Jesus in his greatest pain. The abandonment of the divinity in his sufferings. Finding myself in my usual state, I saw myself all confused and as though separated from my sweet Jesus, to the point that as he came, I said to him, "My love, how things have changed for me. Before I used to feel so identified with you that I felt no division between me and you, and in the very pains I suffered, you were with me. Now, the complete opposite. If I suffer, I feel separated from you. And if I see you before me or inside of me, it is in the appearance of a judge who condemns me to the penalty, to death. And you no longer take part in the pains that you yourself give me. Yet you tell me, rise more and more while I am descending." And Jesus, interrupting me, told me, "My daughter, how you are deceiving yourself. This is happening because you accepted, and I marked in you, the deaths and the pains which I suffered for each creature. My humanity too found itself in these painful conditions. It was inseparable from my divinity, yet since my divinity was untouched by the pains, nor capable of suffering any shadow of pain, my humanity found itself alone in suffering, while my divinity was only the spectator of the pains and deaths which I suffered. Even more, it was my inexorable judge, who wanted to be paid the penalty of each pain of each creature. Oh, how my humanity trembled! I remained crushed before that supreme light and majesty, in seeing myself covered with the sins of all, and with the pains and deaths that each one deserved. It was the greatest pain of my life, that while I was one with the divinity and inseparable from it, in the pains I remained alone, and as though separated. So since I have called you to my likeness, what is the wonder if, while you feel me within you, you see me as the spectator of your pains, which I myself inflict upon you, and you feel as though separated from me? Yet your pain is nothing but the shadow of mine. And just as my humanity was never separated from the divinity, so I assure you that you are never separated from me. These are the effects that you feel, but then more than ever, I form one single thing with you. Therefore, courage, faithfulness, and do not fear. End of the reading. The 2nd of August, 1925, Volume 17. The I Love You is Everything. The work of Louisa with the Most Holy Mama. I was praying and fusing myself in the holy divine will. I wanted to wander everywhere, up to the heavens, in order to find that supreme I love you, which is not subject to any interruption. I wanted to make it my own, so that I too might have an I love you which is never interrupted, and which might echo the eternal I love you. And by possessing the source of the true I love you within me, I might have an I love you for each one and for all, for each motion, for each act, for each breath, for each heartbeat, and for each I love you of my Jesus himself. And while I seem to reach the womb of the Eternal One, making their I love you my own, I kept repeating everywhere and upon each thing a lullaby of I love yous to my Supreme Lord. Now, while I was doing this, my thought interrupted my I love you, telling me, "What are you doing? You could be doing something else. And then what is your I love you? How special could this I love you of yours really be?" And my sweet Jesus, as though moving hurriedly in my interior, told me, "What are you saying? How special is for me the I love you directed to me? My daughter, the I love you is everything. The I love you is love, it is veneration, it is esteem, it is heroism, it is sacrifice, it is trust toward the one to whom it is directed. The I love you is to possess the one who encloses the I love you. The I love you is a little word, but it weighs as much as eternity. The I love you encloses everything, involves everyone. It diffuses itself, it restricts itself, it rises up high, it descends to the bottom. It impresses itself everywhere and it never stops. What, my daughter? How special can your I love you really be? Its origin is eternal. In the I love you, the celestial Father generated me, and in the I love you, the Holy Spirit proceeded. In the I love you, the eternal Fiat made the whole creation, and in the I love you, it forgave guilty man and redeemed him. Therefore, in the I love you, the soul finds everything in God, and God finds everything in the soul. This is why the value of the I love you is infinite. It is full of life and of energy. It never tires. It surpasses everything and triumphs over everything. And so, this I love you, directed to me, I want to see it and hear it on your lips, in your heart, in the flying of your thoughts, in the drops of your blood, in the pains and in the joys, in the food you take, in everything. The life of my I love you must be long, long within you, and my Fiat, which reigns in you, will place on it the seal of the divine I love you. After this, the sun came before my mind in a very high point. Its light was inaccessible. Continuous little flames came out from the centre of it, each one containing an I love you. And as they came out, they placed themselves in order around this inaccessible light. However, these little flames remained as though bound with a thread of light to that inaccessible light, which nourished the life of the little flames. These little flames were so many as to fill heaven and earth. I seem to see our God as the beginning and the end of everything, and in the little flames, the whole of creation as a divine birth of pure love. I too was a little flame, and my sweet Jesus pushed me to take flight through each little flame in order to place on them a double I love you. I don't know how I found myself outside of myself, wandering around in the midst of those little flames and impressing my I love you upon each one of them. But they were so many that I would get lost. However, a supreme force would make find again the order and the round of my I love you. Afterwards, I found myself in a vast garden, and to my surprise, I found the Queen Mama, who, approaching me, said to me, "My daughter, come with me to work in this garden. We must plant celestial and divine flowers and fruits. It is now almost empty, and if there is any plant at all, it is terrestrial and human. Therefore, it is appropriate for us to pull it up, so that this garden may be all pleasing to my Son, Jesus. The seeds we must plant are all of my virtues, my works, my pains, which contain the seed of the Fiat Voluntas Tua. There was nothing I did which did not contain this seed of the will of God. I would have contented myself with doing nothing, rather than working or suffering without this seed. All my glory, the dignity of mother, the height of queen, the supremacy over all, came to me from this seed. The whole of creation, all beings, recognized me as ruler over them, because they saw the supreme will reigning in me. So we will unite all that I did together with all that you did with this seed of the supreme will and we will plant it in this garden. So we fused the seeds which my celestial mama had, which were many, together with the few which were mine, and I don't know how I found them. But we started to form little holes in which to place the seeds. But while we were doing this, from behind the walls of the garden, which were very high, we heard noise of weapons and of cannons, which roared in a horrible way. So we were forced to run out and to give help. And as we arrived there, we could see peoples of various races, of different colours, and many nations united together, which were waging battle and striking terror and fright. While I was seeing this, I found myself inside myself, but oh, with what fright, and also with the sorrow of having said not even a word about my hard state to my celestial mama. May the most holy will of God be always blessed, and may everything be for his glory. End of the reading. The 2nd of August, 1928, Volume 24. How it is absolute will of God for these writings to come out. The work of redemption and the kingdom of the divine Fiat are linked together. The field of the divine will. Explanations. I was feeling all concerned because of these blessed writings. The thought of letting them come out is always a torment for me. And then there's so many incidents that happen, now one way, now another. Many times this makes me think that maybe it is not will of God that they be published, otherwise so many things would not happen. Who knows whether the Lord wants my sacrifice in words, but with facts he wants to spare me a sorrow so great that only the thought that I may oppose his divine will makes me say, Fiat, Fiat. But while I was thinking of this, my always lovable Jesus moved in my interior and told me, my daughter, the will of God that the writings of my divine will come to light is absolute, and as many incidents as may occur, it will triumph of everything. And even if it should take years and years, it will know how to dispose everything so that its absolute will be fulfilled. The time in which they will come to light is relative and conditional upon when creatures dispose themselves to receive a good so great, and upon those who must occupy themselves with being its criers and make the sacrifice so as to bring the new era of peace, the new sun that will dispel all the clouds of evils. If you knew how many graces and lights I keep prepared for those whom I see disposed to occupy themselves with them, they will be the first to feel the balm, the light, the life of my Fiat. Look at me, how I prepared in my hands the clothes, the food, the ornaments, the gifts for those who must occupy themselves with them. But I am looking to see who the true disposed ones are, so as to invest them with the prerogatives that are needed for a work so holy that I so much love and want them to do. But I must also say to you, woe to those who are opposed or might place obstacles. You, however, do not move anything, not even one comma, of what is needed to prepare the kingdom of my divine will, so that on my part and on your part, by doing what is needed to give this great good to creatures, nothing may be lacking on our part, so that as soon as the creatures dispose themselves, they may find everything in place and what is needed. Did I not do the same in the work of redemption? I prepared everything. I did and suffered everything. And in spite of the so many adverse incidents that I saw, my very apostles vacillating, doubtful, timid, to the point of running away from me when they saw me in the hands of the enemies, being left alone, not having the good of seeing any fruit while I was on earth. In spite of all this, I neglected nothing of what was needed for the complete work of redemption, so that when they would open their eyes to look at what I had done, they would find all the good in order to be redeemed, and nothing might be lacking to them in order to receive the fruit of my coming upon earth. My daughter, the kingdom of redemption and that of my will are so linked together that they hold hands and almost have the same lot because of human ingratitude. But one who must give and form a good so great should not pay attention to this, nor stop. It is necessary that we do complete works so that nothing may be lacking on our part, and so that as they dispose themselves, they may find everything that is needed to receive the kingdom of my will. After this, I continued my acts in the divine volition, but I kept feeling oppressed, and my sweet Jesus, making himself seen again, seemed to hold 3 or 4 priests tightly in his arms and holding them against his breast, as if he wanted to infuse in them the life of his divine heart. He told me, "My daughter, look at how tightly I hold in my arms those who must occupy themselves with the writings on my adorable will. As soon as I see some little disposition in them to occupy themselves with them, I take them in my arms to infuse in them what is needed for a work so holy. Therefore, courage, do not fear." Then after this he made himself seen in my interior. In the depth of it I saw a most extensive field, not of earth, but of clearest crystal. Every 2 or 3 steps in this field there was a baby Jesus, surrounded by a light. Oh, how beautiful this field looked, with so many babes. Each of them had his own sun, radiant and beautiful, all for himself. I was surprised at seeing so many Jesuses in the depth of my soul, each of them all intent on enjoying his own sun. And my sweet Jesus, seeing my surprise, told me, "My daughter, do not be surprised. This field that you see is my divine will, and the many Jesuses you see are my truths regarding my fiat. In each of them there is a life of mine that, forming its radiant sun, surrounds itself with light, so as to spread its endless rays to make known that I myself am the springing fount of my truth. See then how many lives of mine I have put out, as many truths as I have manifested to you. So many are my lives that I have put out, with the very source of the sun, not just a simple light. And I have remained in their midst, so that all might feel the creative strength and virtue in these truths. And I love each of them so much as I love myself. And whoever would not want to recognize my life, my sun, my creative virtue in these truths about my fiat is either blind or has lost the good of the intellect. Also, it should be of great consolation for you to possess within yourself as many lives of mine for as many truths as I have manifested to you. Therefore recognize the great good. Greater treasure I could not entrust to you. And do not be concerned. The sun will know how to make its way, and since it is light, no one will be able to prevent its step. Then he added with a more tender accent, "My daughter, our adorable Majesty loves the creature so much that we put our life at her disposal to make of her another similar to us. We place our life as a model before the creature, so that by modelling herself on our model, she may copy our life and form facsimiles of her creator. This is why we use many stratagems, finesses of love, and we give surprising graces to see ourselves copied in the creature. And only then shall we be content when, as our love, united with our divine will, conquers the creature. We will be able to recognize our image and likeness in her, just as she came out of our creative hands. End of the reading.
All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence daily.
The 2nd of August, 1930, volume 28. How all things are veiled. Only in heaven is everything unveiled. Necessary conditions and work that are needed in order to know the truths. I was thinking about the many truths that Blessed Jesus had told me on his divine will, and that only to obey I had written on paper, and that some people in reading them not only are not taken by these truths, but it seems to me that they hold them as truths not to be taken into consideration. I felt in pain because of this. That while to me they seem like many suns, one more beautiful than the other, capable of illuminating the whole world, for others instead, it seems that they have not even the virtue of warming it and giving it a little bit of light. So while I was thinking of this, my lovable Jesus, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, all things down here, both in the supernatural order and in the natural order, are all veiled. Only in heaven are they unveiled, because in the celestial fatherland there are no veils, but things can be seen as they are in themselves. So up there, the intellect does not need to work in order to comprehend them, because of their own they show themselves for what they are. And if there is any work to do in the blessed dwelling, if it can be called work at all, it is that of enjoying and delighting in the things that, unveiled, one sees. On the other hand, down here it is not so. Since the human nature is spirit and body, the veil of the body prevents the soul from seeing my truths. The sacraments and all the other things are veiled. I myself, word of the Father, had the veil of my humanity. All my words, my gospel, in the form of examples and of similes. And only those who drew near me to listen to me with faith in their hearts, with humility, and with the will to know the truths that I manifested to them in order to put them into practice, could comprehend me. By doing this, they tore the veils that hid my truths and found the good that was in them. Through faith, through humility, and by wanting to know my truths, it was a work that they were doing, and with this work they would tear the veil and find my truths as they are in themselves, and therefore they remained bound to me and to the good that my truths contained. Others, who would not do this work, would touch the veil of my truths, not the fruit that was inside. Therefore they remained on an empty stomach. They could not understand anything, and turning their back to me, they departed from me. So are my truths that with so much love I have manifested to you about my divine will, so that they may shine like unveiled suns as they are. Creatures must do their work, walk the way in order to touch them, that is faith. They must desire to want to know them and pray and humble their intellect in order to open it, so as to let the good and the life of my truths enter into them. If they do this, they will tear the veil and will find the more than refulgent sun. Otherwise, they will remain blind. And I will repeat the saying of the gospel: you have eyes and do not see, ears and do not hear, tongue and are mute. See also in the natural order all things are veiled. Fruits have the veil of the skin. Who enjoys the good of eating them? One who does the work of drawing near the trees, of picking it, of removing the skin that hides the fruit. This one enjoys and makes the desired fruit his food. The fields are veiled by straws. Who takes the good that those straws hide? One who uncovers them of those straws has the good of taking the grain in order to form the bread, to make of it his daily food. In sum, all things down here have the veil that covers them, to give to man the work and the will, the love to possess them and enjoy them. Now my truths surpass natural things by far, and they present themselves to the creature like noble queens, veiled, in the act of giving themselves to them. But they want their work. They want them to draw near them by the steps of their will, in order to know them, possess them, and love them. Necessary conditions in order to tear the veil that hides them. Once the veil is torn, with their light of their own, they make their way, giving themselves in possession to those who have searched for them. This is the reason for those who read the truths of my divine will and show that they do not comprehend what they read, even more they are confused, because the true will of wanting to know them is lacking. It can be said that the work in order to know them is lacking, and without work nothing can be acquired, nor do they deserve such a great good. And I, with justice, deny to them what I abundantly give to the humble and those who yearn for the great food of the light of my truths. My daughter, how many truths of mine, suffocated by those who do not love to know them and do not want to do their little work in order to possess them. I feel that they want to suffocate my very self if they could, and I in my sorrow am forced to repeat what I said in the gospel, and I do it indeed. I take away from those who do not have, or who might have a little something of my goods, and I leave them in squalid misery because, not wanting them and not loving them, these would hold them without esteeming them and without fruit. And I give more abundantly to those who have, because these will hold them as precious treasures that will bear fruit more and more. End of the reading. The 2nd of August, 1937, Volume 34. How creation possesses perfect happiness, as to be able to give terrestrial happiness to creatures. How sin stopped the happiness. The great evil of one who gets out of place at the beginning. Example. I was doing my round in creation in order to follow the acts of the divine will done in it, and oh, how many surprises! Each one contains such happiness as to be able to render everything and everyone happy. And my always lovable Jesus, seeing my surprise, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, our Supreme Being possesses the fount of happiness. Therefore, no other things or beings could come forth from us if they were not happy. In fact, the whole creation possesses such fullness of happiness as to be able to give to the whole earth perfect terrestrial happiness. For this reason, Adam enjoyed the fullness of happiness. All created things rained joys and happiness over him. And then, possessing my will, in his interior he contained seas of contentments, of beatitudes and joys without end. For him everything was happiness, inside and out. As he sinned, he removed himself from my will. The joy departed from him, and all created things withdrew into their bosom the joys that they possessed, giving man only the necessary means, not as master, but as ungrateful servant. See, therefore, unhappiness does not come forth from us, nor could we give it, because we do not have it. To give what one does not have is impossible. Therefore it was sin that cast into man the seed of unhappiness, of sorrow, and of all the evils that encircled him inside and out. So as the celestial lady came on earth, and then my most holy humanity, The whole creation set itself to feast. They smiled with joy and resumed the course by raining over us joys and happiness. And as we went out into the open, they ran, they bowed, and they unleashed over us joys and happiness. The sun gave us the joys of its light. It delighted our sight with a variety of its colours. It gave us the joys of the kisses of love that it possessed, and reverently extended itself under our steps in order to adore us. The wind rained joys of freshness over us, and with its puffs it drove away from us the putrid air of so many sins. The birds ran around us in order to give us the joys of their trills and songs. How much beautiful music they made us, so much that I was constrained to command them that they would move away from around me, that they would take flight in the air, to sing the praises of their Creator. The earth bloomed for me under my steps in order to give me the joys of so many flowerings, and I commanded them that they would not make me such demonstration, and it obeyed me. The air brought me the joys of our omnipotent breath. When breathing on man, we gave him life, overwhelming him with divine joys and happiness. And as I breathed, so I felt come to me our joys and happiness that we experienced in the creation of man. In fact, there was no created thing that did not want to put forth the joys that they possessed, not only in order to felicitate me, but in order to give me the homages, the honours as to their Creator. And I offered them to my celestial Father in order to give him the glory, the honour, the homage, the love, for so many magnificences and marvellous works that we did in the creation for love of man. Now, my daughter, these joys in created things still exist. Creation, since it was made by us with so much splendour and sumptuousness, and with the fullness of happiness, has lost nothing, because we wait for our children, the children of our will, who with right will enjoy the joys, the terrestrial happiness that the whole creation possesses. And I can say that for love of these it still exists, and creatures enjoy, if not the fullness of happiness, at least the necessary things in order to be able to live. This existing still of creation after so many human ingratitudes, sins that are horrifying, says the certainty of the kingdom of my will on earth, because the creature possessing it will become capable of receiving the joys of creation, of giving us the glory, the love, the reciprocation for how much we have done for her, and of doing all the possible and imaginable good that the creature can do. Therefore, everything is in the possessing of our volition, because so did the whole of creation have its beginning. Man understood everything was our will. Everyone lived enclosed in it, and in it they found what they wanted. Joys, peace, perfect order, everything was at their disposition. The beginning displaced, all things changed aspect. The happiness changed into sorrow, the strength into weakness, the order into disorder, the peace into war. Poor man without my will, he is the true blind one, the poor paralyzed one, who if he does some good, everything is with difficulty and bitternesses. All things, if they are guided by the beginning from which they have had existence, find the way, the firm step, and the resulting happiness of the works or good that they have undertaken. If they lose the beginning, they are turned upside down. They waver, lose their way, and they end with not knowing how to do anything. And if it seems that they do something, they cause pity. Even in human beings, it happens this way. If the teacher would want to teach to the young boy the consonants and not the vowels, since the vowels run in every word, in every letter, from the lower science even to the highest, the poor young boy would never learn to read. And if he would want to, he would go mad. What has produced all this evil? the getting out of place from the beginning of the signs from where the vowels are. Ah, my daughter, as long as man does not return to his beginning, does not re-enter into my divine will, my creative work will be a broken, displaced work. Poor man, without the first vowels of my divine will, for however much light it can give him, can speak to him, he will not understand me because he lacks the beginning. He lacks the first vowels in order to be able to read my lessons about my fiat. Therefore, without base, without foundation, without teacher, without defence, his cretinism is so much that he does not know his poor state, and therefore he does not implore to re-enter into my volition in order to learn the first vowels with which he was created by God, so as to be able to follow, to learn the true celestial science, and so form all his fortune, as much on earth as in heaven. Therefore I always whisper to the ear of the heart, my child, re-enter into my will. Come into your beginning if you want to resemble me, if you want that I would recognize you as my child. Oh, how sorrowful it is to have some children who do not resemble me, ignoble, poor, degraded, unhappy. And the reason for all this? Because they rejected the great inheritance of the Celestial Father and constrained me to cry over their lot. Daughter, pray that everyone recognizes my will, and you recognize it and appreciate it. Love it more than your own life, and do not let it escape from you for even one instant. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.